Can you see them?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
I see Amrita. I see Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going out there? I see.
It's good. It's good. We're hunkering down.
Yep, we are too.
Yep.
But it's better than England, where in London they're not even supposed to go outside the front door.
Whoa.
Wow. Yes, I saw that. Ooh.
Yeah, so that's better. Kali Dasi had a long call with her daughter today, and that's like because they have that contagious version that just arrived there.
Oh.
Super contagious, so it's like, okay, well, we'll just not open the door. Terrible way. Hi, Sunanda. Great to see you. Everyone pulling through okay? This is Christmas week coming up.
Yep.
We just finished observing Hanukkah 2 days ago. The last light was lit. Okay, so we're on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And Wednesday, February 25th, 1885. Sri Ramakrishna was at the house of Girish Ghosh in Bospar Lane. It was about 3 o'clock when M arrived and prostrated himself before him. The master was going to see a play at the Star Theater. He was talking with the devotees about the knowledge of Brahman. Master: man experiences 3 states of consciousness: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Those who follow the path of knowledge explain away the 3 states. According to them, Brahman is beyond the 3 states. It is also beyond the gross, the subtle, and causal bodies, and beyond the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. All these are maya, like a reflection in the mirror. The reflection is by no means the real substance. Brahman alone is the substance, and all else is illusory. The knowers of Brahman say further that it is the identification of the soul with the body that creates this notion of duality. In that state of identification, the reflection appears real. When this identification disappears, a person realizes, I am he, I am Brahman, a devotee. Then shall we follow the path of reasoning? Master: reasoning is one of the paths. It is the path of the Vedantists. But there is another path, the path of bhakti. If a bhakta weeps longingly for the knowledge of Brahman, he receives that as well. Okay, they're saying that the ideal of a bhakta is the vision of the personal God, but you all know that.
What page are we on?
We're on page 700. I'm sorry, I forgot to give that important piece of information. Yep. These are the 2 paths, jnana and bhakti. Interesting that he doesn't mention karma yoga, which is another path. In the Bhagavad Gita, you hear about the three paths, but you don't really hear too much about Raja Yoga, which Swamiji sort of took up. One may attain the knowledge of Brahman by either path. Some retain bhakti even after realizing Brahman in order to teach humanity. An incarnation of God is one of these. A person cannot easily get rid of the ego and the consciousness that the body is the soul. It becomes possible only through the grace of God, and he attains samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, jada samadhi. The ego of the incarnations returns to them when they come down from the plane of samadhi, but then it is the ego of knowledge, or the ego of devotion. Through the ego of knowledge, they teach people. Shankaracharya kept the ego of knowledge. Through the ego of devotion, Chaitanya Deva tasted divine love and enjoyed the company of the devotees. He talked about God and chanted his name. Since one cannot easily get rid of the ego, a bhakta does not explain away the states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. He accepts all the states. Further, he accepts the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. A bhakta sees that God alone has become the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living beings. He also sees that God reveals himself to his devotees in a tangible form, which is the embodiment of spirit. The bhakta takes shelter under Vidya Maya. He seeks holy company. He goes on pilgrimage and practices discrimination, devotion, and renunciation. He says that since a person can't easily get rid of the ego, he should at least let the rascal remain as the servant of God, the devotee of God. But a bhakta also attains the knowledge of oneness. He also sees, full stop here. A bhakta also attains the knowledge of oneness. He sees that nothing exists but God. He does not regard the world as a dream. He says that it is God himself who has become everything. In a wax garden, you may see various objects, but everything is made of wax. But if a person realizes this only when their devotion to God is matured, one gets jaundice when too much bile accumulates. Then one sees everything as yellow. From constantly meditating on Krishna, Radhika saw everything as Krishna. Moreover, she even felt that she herself had become Krishna. If a piece of lead is kept in a lake of mercury a long time, it turns into mercury. The cockroach becomes motionless by constantly meditating on the kumara worm. It loses the power to move. At last it is transformed into a kumara. Similarly, by constantly meditating on God, the bhakta loses his ego. He realizes that God is he and he is God. When the cockroach becomes the kumara, everything is achieved. Instantly, one attains liberation. As long as God retains the ego in a person, they should establish a definite relationship with God, calling on him as master, mother, friend, or the like. Okay. I spent 1 year as a handmaid, the handmaid of the Divine Mother, the embodiment of Brahman. I used to dress myself as a woman. I put on a nose ring. One can conquer lust by assuming the attitude of a woman. One must worship the Adya Shakti. She must be propitiated. She alone has assumed all female forms. Thereupon, I look on all women as mother. The attitude of looking on woman as mother is very pure. The Tantra mentions the Vamachara method also. That's not a good method. It causes the aspirant's downfall. A devotee keeping an object of enjoyment near him has reason to be afraid. Looking on woman as mother is like fasting on Ekadashi day without touching even a drop of water. In this attitude, there's not the slightest trace of sensual enjoyment. Another way of observing the Ekadashi allows the taking of fruit and the like. One can also observe the day by eating luchis and curries. But my attitude is not to touch even a drop of water while I observe the fast. I worship the Shorasi as my mother. That's the maiden 16 years old, as my mother. I looked on all parts of her body as those of my mother. This attitude of regarding God as mother is the last word in sadhana. O God, thou art my mother and I am thy child. This is the last word in spirituality. The sannyasi's way, that's a monk's way, of living is like observing the Ekadashi fast without even taking a drop of water. If he clings to enjoyment, then he has reason to be afraid. Lust and greed is enjoyment. If a monk enjoys it, he is swallowing his own spittle, as it were. There are different kinds of enjoyment: money, wealth, name, fame, sense pleasures. It's not good for a sannyasi to sit in the company of a woman devotee or even talk to her. This injures him and others as well. Then others cannot learn from him. He cannot set an example to humanity. A sannyasi keeps his body in order to teach mankind. I think that's really important for us to remember, because when we read the gospel, we don't hear about what he tells women, but he told women the same thing. That for sannyasis are generally, they teach other people how to lead a spiritual life. So they have to set a very, very high standard of behavior. And because what he says in another part of the gospel, he said if he doesn't do that, if he interacts with women a lot, they'll say, oh, he tells us not to enjoy lust and greed, but he does so secretly. He's doing it himself. Because people are always trying to knock down, to bring things down to their own level. So he has to set a very, very high standard of behavior so that he's pretty much like unapproachable. It's like, nope, nope. This sets the gold standard for behavior and spirituality. To sit with a woman or talk to her a long time has been described as a kind of sexual intercourse. There are 8 kinds. To listen to a woman and to enjoy her conversation is one kind. To speak about a woman is another kind. To whisper to her privately is a third kind. To keep something belonging to a woman and enjoy it is a fourth kind. To touch her is a fifth. Thereupon a sannyasi should not salute his guru's young wife touching her feet. These are rules for sannyasis. I actually checked this out when I was working on a book some years back. And it's part of the Vaishnava tradition. They have the whole things listed down in a way in which one can sort of enjoy woman without actually, the whole deal. So there are all these careful rules for sannyasis. But the case is quite different with householders. After the birth of 1 or 2 children, the husband and wife should live as brother and sister. The other 7 kinds of sexual intercourse do not injure them much. A householder has various debts to the gods, to the fathers, to the rishis. He also owes a debt to his wife. He should make her the mother of 1 or 2 children and support her if she is a chaste woman. Householders do not know who is a good wife and who is a bad wife, who is a vidya shakti and who is an avidya shakti. A vidya shakti, a good wife, has very little lust and anger. She sleeps little. She pushes her husband's head away from her. She is full of affection, kindness, devotion, modesty, and other noble qualities. Such a wife serves all, looking upon all men as her children. Further, she helps increase her husband's love of God. She doesn't spend more money lest her husband should have to work hard and thus not get leisure to think of God. Mannish women have different traits. These are bad traits. It's a change of subject here. These are bad traits: squint eyes and hollow eyes, cat-like eyes, lantern jaws like a calf's, and pigeon breast. Girish. What is the way for people like us? Master, bhakti is the only essential thing. Bhakti has different aspects: the sattvic, the rajasic, and the tamasic. One who has sattvic bhakti is very modest and humble. But a person with tamasic bhakti is like a highwayman in his attitude toward God. He says, "Oh God, I am chanting your name. How can I be a sinner? Oh God, you are my own mother. You must reveal yourself to me." Girish, smiling. "It is you, sir, who's teaching us tamasic bhakti." Master, smiling. There are certain signs of God vision. When a person sees God, he goes into samadhi. There are 5 kinds of samadhi. First, he sees God and goes into samadhi. First, he feels like the Mahavayu rise like an ant crawling up. Second, he feels it rise like a fish swimming in the water. Third, he feels it rise like a snake wriggling along. Fourth, he feels it rise like a bird flying from one branch to another. Fifth, he feels it rise like a monkey making a big jump. The Mahavayu reaches the head with one jump, as it were, and samadhi follows. There are 2 other kinds of samadhi. First, the Stita Samadhi, when the aspirant totally loses outer consciousness. He remains in that state a long time, maybe for many days. Second, Unmana Samadhi, to withdraw the mind suddenly from all sense objects and unite it with God. To M, do you understand this? M, yes, sir. Girish, can one realize God by sadhana? Master, people have realized God in various ways. Some through much austerity, worship, and devotion. They have attained perfection through their own efforts. Some are born perfect, as for example, Narada and Shukadeva. They are called Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. There are also those who have attained perfection all of a sudden. It's like a person's unexpectedly coming into a great fortune. Again, there's instances of people realizing God in a dream and by divine grace. Saying this, Sri Ramakrishna sang, intoxicated with divine fervor, "Can everyone have the vision of Shama? Is Kali's treasure for everyone? Oh, what a pity my foolish mind will not see what is true. Sri Ramakrishna remained in ecstasy a few minutes. Girish and the other devotees were seated before him. A few days earlier, Girish had been very rude to the master at the Star Theatre, but now he was in a calm state of mind. Master to Girish, this mood of yours is very good. It is peaceful. I prayed about you to the Divine Mother. Oh, Mother, make him peaceful so that he won't abuse me. Girish to M. I feel as if someone were pressing my tongue. I can't talk. Sri Ramakrishna was still in an indrawn mood. He seemed to be gradually forgetting the man and the objects around him. He tried to bring his mind down to the relative world. He looked at the devotees. Looking at M, he said, they all come to Dakshineshwar. Let them. Mother knows everything. To a young man of the neighborhood, he said, hello, what do you think? What is the duty of a man? All sat in silence. To Narayan, he said, don't you want to pass the examinations? But my dear child, a person freed from bondage is Shiva. Entangled in bondage is Jiva. Sri Ramakrishna was still in the God-intoxicated mood. There was a glass of water near him. He drank the water. He said to himself, why? I have drunk water in this mood. Usually he couldn't. He'd have the water just dribble down. He'd need to come down to a lower state of consciousness. It was not yet dusk. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Atul, who was seated in front of him. Atul was Girish's brother and a lawyer in the High Court of Calcutta. A Brahmin neighbor was also seated near him. Master to Atul. All I want to tell you is this. Follow both. Perform your duties in the world and also cultivate love of God. Brahman. Can anyone but a Brahman achieve perfection? Master. Why should you ask that? It is said that in the Kali Yuga, the Shudras achieve love of God. There are the instances of Shavari, Ruhidas, the untouchable Guhaka, and others. Narayan, smiling. Brahmins and Shudras all are one. Brahman. Can a man realize God in one birth? Master. Is anything impossible for the grace of God? Suppose you bring a light into a room that has been dark 1,000 years. Does it remove the darkness little by little? The room is lighted all at once. To Atul. Intense renunciation is what is needed. One should be like an unsheathed sword. When a person has that kind of renunciation, they look upon their relatives as black cobras and their home as a deep well. One should pray to God with sincere longing. God cannot but listen to prayer if it is sincere. All sat in silence, pondering Sri Ramakrishna's words. Master to Atul, what is worrying you? Is it that you haven't that grit, that intense restlessness for God? Atul, how can we keep our minds on God? Master, Abhyasa Yoga, the yoga of practice. You should practice calling on God every day. It is not possible to succeed in one day. Through daily prayer, you will come to long for God. How can you feel that restlessness if you are immersed in worldliness day and night? Formerly, Jadu Malik enjoyed spiritual talk. He liked to engage in it himself. But nowadays, he doesn't show that much interest. He surrounds himself with flatterers day and night and indulges in worldly talk. It was dusk. The lamp was lighted in the room. Sri Ramakrishna chanted the divine names. He was singing and praying. He said, chant the name of Hari, repeat the name of Hari, sing the name of Hari. Again he said, Rama, Rama, Rama. Then, O Mother, thou dost ever enjoy thine eternal sports. Tell us, O Mother, what is the way? We have taken refuge in thee. We have taken shelter at thy feet. Finding Girish restless, Sri Ramakrishna remained silent a while. Yet he asked Tej Chandra to sit near him. The boy sat near the master. He whispered to M that he would have to leave soon. Master to M. What did he say? M. He said he would have to go home. Master. Why do I attract these boys to me so much? They are pure vessels, untouched by worldliness. A person can't assimilate instruction if their mind is stained with worldliness. Milk can be kept safely in a new pot, but it turns sour if it's kept in a pot in which curd has been made. You may wash 1,000 times a cup that has held a solution of garlic, but you cannot remove the smell. Ramakrishna arrived at the Star Theatre on Beedon Street to see a performance of Vrishiketu. And that is the son of Karna, the hero of the Mahabharata, who was celebrated alike for his charity and heroism. Karna sacrificed his son to fulfill a promise. He sat at Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna is referring to that, sat in a box facing the south. M and the other devotees were near him. Master to M, has Narendra come? M, yes, sir. The performance began. Karna and his wife Padmavati sacrificed their son to please God, who had come to them in the guise of a Brahmin to test Karna's charity. During the scene, one of the devotees gave a suppressed sigh. Ramakrishna also expressed his sorrow. After the play, Ramakrishna went to the recreation room of the theater. Girish and Narendra were already there. The master stood near Narendra and said, "I've come." Ramakrishna took a seat. The orchestra was playing in the auditorium. Master to the devotees, "I feel happy listening to the concert. The musicians used to play on a sanai in Dakshineshwar, and I would go into ecstasy." Noticing this, a certain sadhu said, "This is a sign of the knowledge of Brahman." The orchestra stopped playing, and Sri Ramakrishna began the conversation. Master to Girish, "Does this theater belong to you?" Girish, "It is ours, sir." Master, "Ours is good. It is not good to say mine. People say I and mine. They are egotistic, small-minded people." Narendra, "The whole world is a theater." Master, yes, you're right. In some places you see the play of Vidya, and in some places the play of Avidya, that's knowledge and ignorance. Narendra, "Everything is the play of Vidya." Master, true. But a person realizes that when they have knowledge of Brahman. But for a bhakta who follows the path of divine love, both exist, Vidyamaya and Avidyamaya. Please sing a little. Narendra sang, "Upon the sea of blissful awareness, waves of ecstatic love arise. Rapture divine, play of God's bliss, oh, how enthralling. Wondrous waves of all the sweetness of God, ever new and ever enchanting, rise on the surface, ever assuming forms ever fresh. Then once more in the great communion all are merged, as the barrier walls of time and space dissolve and vanish. Dance then, O mind, dance in delight with hands upraised, chanting Lord Hari's holy name." As Narendra sang the words, "Then once more in the great communion all are merged," Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "One realizes this after attaining the knowledge of Brahman. Then all is Vidya, Brahman, as you said." As Narendra sang the line, "Dance in delight with hands upraised, chanting Lord Hari's holy name," Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Sing that line twice." After the song, Sri Ramakrishna resumed the conversation. Girish, "Devendra Babu hasn't come. He says in a mood of wounded pride, 'We haven't any stuff inside us, no filling of thickened milk. We are only filled with the worthless lentil paste. Why should we go there?'" Sri Ramakrishna's master surprised. Does he say that? He never said so before. Sri Ramakrishna had said in a previous discussion, some people are filled with thickened cream and others are with black kalai pulse. So apparently Devendra Babu has taken umbrage to this. Sri Ramakrishna took some refreshments and handed some to Narendra. Jatin Deva, to the master, "You always say, 'Narendra, eat this, eat that.' Are the rest of us fools? Are we like straw washed ashore by the flood tide?" Sri Ramakrishna loved Jatin dearly. Jatin visited the master now and then at Dakshineshwar and has occasionally spent the night there. He belonged to an aristocratic family of Shobha Bazar. The master said longingly to Narendra, "He's talking about you." Sri Ramakrishna laughed and showed affection to Jatin by touching his chin. He said to Jatin, "Come to Dakshineshwar. I will give you plenty to eat." The master went into the auditorium to see a farce. He sat in a box. He laughed at the conversation of the maidservant. After a while he became absent-minded and whispered a few words to M, master to M. "Well, is what Girish Ghosh says true?" Girish had lately been speaking of Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God. M. Yes, sir, it must be true. Otherwise, why should it appeal to our minds? Yeah. Master, you see, a change is coming over me. The old mood has changed. I'm not able to touch metal anymore now. M. Listen to these words and wonder. Master, there is a very deep meaning in this new mood. Was the master hinting that a God-man cannot bear any association with worldly treasure? Master to M. Well, do you notice any change in me? M. In what respect, sir? Master, in my activities. M. Your activities are increasing as more people come to know about you. Master, do you see? What I said before is now coming true. After a few moments, he said, Can you tell me why Paul too can't meditate well? Sri Ramakrishna was ready to leave for Dakshинeshwar. He had remarked to a devotee about Girish, You may wash 1,000 times a cup that has held a solution of garlic, but is it ever possible to get rid of the smell altogether? Girish was offended by the remark. When the master was about to leave, Girish spoke. Girish, will this smell of garlic go? Master, yes, it will. Girish, so you say it will. Master, all smell disappears when a blazing fire is lighted. If you heat a cup of smelling of garlic, you get rid of the smell. It becomes a new cup. The person who says he will not succeed will never succeed. He who feels he is liberated is indeed liberated, and he who feels he is bound verily remains bound. He who forcefully says, I am free, is certainly free, and he who says, day and night I am bound, is certainly bound. And that is the end of that chapter, which is perfect timing. Do we have any other comments or questions or anything on that? Pretty forceful words of Sri Ramakrishna. Okay. Well, then I do hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas. And let's see there will be a lecture tomorrow on the incarnation full of grace and truth. Next Wednesday, there will be a reading of the Gospel of Holy Mother. And next Saturday will be a reading from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Okay, until then, Merry Christmas, all of you. Merry Christmas. Stay well. Our love to you. Our happiest Christmas greetings to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Jai